Hi everyone, so this is the part of a YouTube video where the host will usually come out with a corny gag or something of that ilk. In the case of this one, I don't have a corny gag for it, sorry. So we'll just have to cue the intro. So hello everyone and welcome to Rapport Reading First. People call me Mel. So a couple of weeks ago, I posted a video on how you would do a group fitness class introduction, including Auslan signing in it. And when I did that, I mentioned that my New Year's resolution for this year is to learn how to say hello and thank you in the languages of all of my patrons, or those who have come from other countries to Australia. So I'm going to tell you the why for that in this video. Now, I was going to do the why and the how, but unfortunately it made the video too long and my YouTube account doesn't quite accept that just yet. So we'll go with the why for it. So I do love to travel, and part of traveling for me is learning the local language. Now you might say to me, well, most people speak English. Yeah, that's true. English is a bit of a lingua franca in our world, but the reality is in some places people don't speak that much English, and you can engage with a place a lot better if you can speak some of the local language. For example, I was in Munich some time ago and I came across a Lebensmittelhändler, that's a fruit and veg seller, and I don't think she could speak English at all. So fortunately, I could speak a little bit of German to her and I was able to convey what I wanted, some fruit and veg, or fruit for the rest of my journey. I was able to have a little conversation with her. And this was just based on phrase book German. I actually know German a lot better now, but at that stage it was just on what I'd learned in the phrase books. And that was enough to get me through and to get a little bit more out of my trip away. So with some countries which I visit, I make a deal that I'm going to learn the language, sort of get a fair idea as to how to command the language. Other countries, I would just learn the basics. Now, the beauty of that is when I do my classes, of course I talk about my travels and what I'm planning on doing, and people will come forwards and they will tell me that they're from different countries. And as a result, it means that I get a little bit of a chance to practice those languages with them, keep those languages alive, because in order for a language to stay alive in you, you need to be using it. No amount of book learning and rote learning is going to really help you. You've got to be using that language. So, Fortunately, I've got a few people in my classes who I can do that with, and the way that their eyes light up and their smile comes up is just amazing. So I decided at the end of last year, I'd been mainly focusing on European languages up till then, with the exception of Indonesian, which I had been learning since about the middle of the year. I decided it was time to branch out, because whilst I was learning European languages, that was great. There's obviously a lot more languages out there to be learning and to be reaching out to people with. So I made a deal that I was going to learn how to say hello and thank you in the languages of my Asian and Middle Eastern patrons. And now I've also added in my African patrons. I was going to leave them till next year, but I've actually got quite a few African patrons, so I figured why not go for this year. Do the impossible. Look, if I can learn Russian, which I'm doing at the moment, I can do this. The way that I got into this, or the way that I made this decision, was a few months ago, I have a lady in one of my classes who is from Persia. She speaks Farsi mainly, only speaks a little bit of English. So I decided that I would say hello in Farsi. So hello in Farsi is salam. It's the same as what it is in Indonesian, which is kind of handy. That was great. But then one day I decided I'm going to say thank you to you in your language. So I said Multi Shakaram. Now she was so surprised to hear an Anglo-Australian coming out with Multi Shakaram that she just about fell back into the pool. I wasn't too worried about her. She could swim. But she was so surprised at an Australian wanting to do that. So that was sort of confirmation for me that it was perhaps a good idea to to branch out like this. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's all very well, but surely people can just speak English here. I mean, we are a mainly English-speaking country. Australia doesn't actually have an official language. English is our official language by default. It's never been declared an official language. And realistically, how do you make a language official when you've got over 200 languages and dialects of the Aboriginal people who were here way before any of us Anglos were? How do you honestly make an official language there? It's almost impossible to. So, yes, English is the official language of Australia by default, but it's not the official language. Like I say, there's no official language in Australia. So therefore, I don't see that's really an argument. The other reasoning is that, hey, even in countries where they do have an official language, such as Indonesia, Bahasa Indonesia or Indonesian is the official language, they still have 700 or more than 700 local languages and dialects which are spoken. And along with English is spoken in the touristy areas. So I used to have a sponsor child in Indonesia, and I actually asked her about that. Asked her about her languages, and she said, yeah, we learn Indonesian as a lingua franca between all of us. But then we also have our local language, which I speak with my friends. And then there's also English because, hey, it's the language of the money, really. So from that perspective, saying that just because a language is official or not official isn't really a good reason to not speak somebody else's language. Now, the other benefit with knowing somebody else's language is that it does give you a little insight into their culture. So, for example, for example, the case of Irish Gaelic. I'm of Irish descent, so I do know a little bit of Irish Gaelic. I have been learning it just to connect with my heritage a bit more than previously. In order to say thank you, there's no actual word for thank you. The way that you say thank you is just to say thank you. It is go rav wa agat, which transliterated word for word means is, was, good to, or at you. So totally different to how you do it in English. So in order to say I want a coffee, it is tō kawha awang, which transliterates as is coffee want me. To say I have a coffee, it is tō kawha agam, which is coffee at or to me. Little disclaimer, I am probably butchering a few of these Irish Gaelic words, even though I have learned a bit of the language and I have been to Ireland since learning that bit of the language. Opportunities to speak it there were kind of limited. A little bit more opportunities in the western parts of Ireland, but not a lot in other areas. So, little disclaimer, my pronunciation probably isn't completely correct. Now you notice down the bottom the word seaclade, or it looks like seaclade. That is actually pronounced shayclade for chocolate. Now you will notice that the language pretty much goes as verb, subject, object. That is very similar to the Semitic languages, such as Arabic and Hebrew. And yes, those are the ways that you say hello in Arabic and in modern Hebrew, marhaban and shalom. Little disclaimer, I have not been to any Arabic-speaking countries, nor have I been to Israel yet to get these photos. These are actually photos from my visit to Spain from last year. Hey, Spain was under Muslim control for quite some time. A lot of Arabic loanwords entered into Spanish, so I'll do a hats off that way. You can see there's just a little bit of a difference there, and hey, not having a word for thank you, not having a word for have, can give us some insights into a culture. And that can be very handy. If a culture can be slightly different to ours, just based on their language, it can be just really handy to have that awareness that their view on life, their view on possession, their view on how the world works might be very different to ours. So that's my video on why I've done this. Like I say, I'm going to do my how in the next couple of weeks. So I look forward to seeing you then. Stay tuned, stay classy. Bye.